Friends and elders, in an era tainted with extreme individualism, mental suffering, and loss of genuine purpose, it seems almost unthinkable to explain the existence of an extraordinarily special human being, an absolutely selfless guru such as His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And yet it is within the reach of us to strive for our own enlightenment and give selflessly for the enlightenment of others. To do so, developing genuine compassion and courage to understand the ultimate truth form part of the efforts necessary. Let us now hear one of the most exemplary and beloved human beings of our generation, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama.
Brothers and sisters, firstly, I want to make clear. I use this word, brothers, sisters, deliberately. Wherever I speak, I always start that. Because I feel a sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings is something very important in order to create, firstly, peaceful world. Then secondly, individual peaceful mind. More altruism, think other. You see, that gives you inner strength. The lack of, I said, a genuine sense of concern of others' well-being. Think oneself. Almost whole universe, you are the center of the whole universe. then so you feel, oh, this side, or you feel some suspicion, some distrust. This side. So therefore, no matter how rich and general modern education, lacking here the ultimate source of inner strength, the person will not be happy person, calm person. So, my commitment, number one commitment is try to promote a sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. And I am a practitioner of Buddha Dharma about Nalanda tradition. So our main practice is they think entire sentient being. We call Buddhicitta. So you yourself, your physical, your speech, your mind, dedicated for well-being of other. So as a practitioner, say, and then practical level, although we pray entire benefit for entire sentient being, but realistically speaking, other galaxies, we only pray, nothing can be done. Then this universe and this world also, you see the limitless birds, animals, some different sort of kinds of sort of mammals like that. But in practical level, only 7 billion human beings. We have human language, and we have this human brain. So although we pray entire sentient being, but practical level, we can share at least some of our own sort of kasuda.
Knowledge. Knowledge.
Or good wishes, right?
Yes.
Only 7 billion human beings. And then, other hand, it is quite clear. Basic human nature, according to scientists, more compassionate. It is very clear, very clear. As soon as we're born, the mainly mother and parent and some friends, you see, taking care you, at least next, you see, few years. Without that, we can't survive. So now scientists say basic human nature is more compassionate. It's very true. However, 7 billion human beings, we, besides nature disaster, I think also is due to global warming. That's beyond our control. Then beside that problem, lot of problem, essentially our own creation. Our own creation is very true. In spite of basic nature, more compassionate species of mammal, because we are a social animal. So loving kindness is the key factor to bring together. So any social animal, some level, that kind of sort of sense of community there. That's the
basis for their survival.
Basis of their survival. However, a lot of problems which we created, our own creation, including religious faith. Suppose religion bring inner peace. So all religion, you see, emphasis importance of love, forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline. However, the religion also becoming one factor, divide people. And then worst case, killing. Now these days, India I think much better. I never heard, you see, like Shia and Sunni. In this country, we never heard killing Shia and Sunni. And next our neighbor, Afghanistan, Syria, and these Muslim countries. It's a follower of same God, Allah, same Quran, every day, 5 times prayer, yet killing each other. It is unthinkable, really. Killing due to political power or economic interest, some way understandable. In the name of religion, killing each other, unthinkable. But it's fact, it's happening. So now these things, we too much emphasis on differences. Differences, secondary level. Different nation, nationality, different religion, different color, within same community, gap rich and poor. All this with too much emphasis on secondary level of differences. So logically, many problems due to with too much emphasis on secondary level of differences. Now the only method is go deeper level, fundamental level, we are same human being. So I really feel we really need a sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. Now sufficient reasons, mentally, emotionally, physically, 7 billion human beings are same. No differences. Sometimes, as I think concerned people deliberately create some sort of some differences. For example, one occasion I was in South Africa, Soweto town, and I visited one local black African family. And one person, he introduced himself as a teacher. That was soon after the democratized South Africa. So then I told, you already now achieved democratic constitution. But the important is your own mental level should develop. So white people, black people are equal. So you should keep enthusiasm to rebuild your nation. When I mentioned that person, black African, as a teacher, he, with low voice, he told me, we black people, we are inferior. We cannot match with white people. I really shocked. And I argue with him, no. If we go to hospital, brain specialist, if you ask any differences of human brain due to color, definitely they say no differences. So I argue with him, argue. Then at last, he, with long sighs, long sigh, and he responded, yes, now he convinced we are same brain. So sometimes I think due to certain reasons, due to narrow-mindedness, and try to make some differences, even biological factor. That's totally wrong. So, 7 billion human beings, physically same, emotionally same, mentally all same. So therefore, I always to say, start brothers, sisters. And for me, that also quite easy, just to say brothers, sisters. Otherwise, to sit in different name, even pronunciation difficult. So much better, just say brothers, sisters. So now my number one commitment is try to promote sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. The second, my responsibility, my commitment is try to promote religious harmony. In that respect, I always mention India. Over 3,000, 4,000 years, different religious tradition already developed in this country. So this I describe homegrown different religious tradition, Sankhyaism, Jainism, then Buddhism and some other traditions. These are homegrown religious tradition. In modern time or later, Sikhism. All these religions are homegrown religion. Then about 2,000 years ago, the Judaism came, Christianity came, Islam came. I think before that, Zoroastrianism from ancient Parsi came. So these come from outside, but all settled very peacefully, very harmonious way. Some little complaint from here and there, maybe. But basically, I think India is the only nation where all major world religious traditions live together. So then, India, not a small country, very big country, over 1 billion populated nation. But religious tolerance, religious harmony, there. So therefore, religious harmony is very possible. So I always say, mention India is the example. Religions, different traditions can live together. This is my second commitment. The third commitment, I am Tibetan. As the Tibetan people trusted me, so therefore I have moral responsibility. But Tibetans of the political responsibility, temporal responsibility is concerned now. Since 2001, we already achieved elected political leadership. Then 2011, the 2001 semi-retired position. Then 2011, totally, retired from political responsibility. There are some reasons. Firstly, I believe in Tibetan history, including Dalai Lama, Dharma institution, become something important. And eventually, political power also hold. That's a sign of a feudal system, outdated. Since my childhood, I noticed the Tibetan regent, after Dalai Lama died, there's some regent there. So, you see there, I always heard complaint from people, not official. When I ask, they say, okay, like that. Then sweeper, he's very innocent. So when I ask, they all complain, to sort of express to me. So since my childhood, I already know that Tibetan government system is backward. There's a lot of mistake there. All due to all power in the hands of few people. So since my childhood, I really love democratic system. So soon after I took the responsibility, political responsibility, 1950, 51. Then I think around 52 or 53, I set up reform committee, start some change, some reform, but not very successful because Chinese officials, they want reform according to their own way. So if Tibetan carry some reform work, is naturally more suitable, so that might be hindrance for their own way of reform. So not success. Then, 54, I went to China. Then 56, came to India. And then soon after, crisis happened, start. Then 59, escaped, become refugee. And as soon as we reach India, our own sort of cabinet, sort of ministers, some group, we already start some change. And then I think early 60, maybe early 60, at Buddhagaya, some leaders of different sort of community come there. So then we start the appointment of people's representative, like that. So we at once we start work for democratization, as I mentioned earlier. Then eventually I myself retired, like that. So elected political leadership now here, so wonderful. During election, more criticism also there. That is part of a democratic system, isn't it? Like that. So then, you see, I carry the main sort of my responsibility is preservation of Tibetan culture, including Tibetan language. And more important, those subjects which brought by one of Nalanda master, Shanda Rakshita, from Nalanda tradition. That means sort of very complicated philosophical views, and then logic. Because Nalanda tradition, you see, we consider importance of investigation, analyze, and experiment, not faith. Buddha himself, you see, expressed, "Oh, my follower should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." So I think some unique thing, some Nalanda master, like Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti, they rejected some Buddha's own statement. They say, if you accept this Buddha's teaching literally, it goes against the reason. Therefore, we must reject. Buddha taught that under different circumstances, different audience, otherwise we cannot accept literally. That's quite, I think, unique. So, Nalanda tradition very much emphasizes reasoning, experiment. So logic very important, pramana. So many Nalanda masters, when they explain philosophy or some other subject, they always use reason, logical approach. So Shantarakshita himself wrote about philosophy, one text which we study.
Madhyamaka Alankara. Madhyamaka Alankara.
Madhyamaka
Alankara.
Alankara. His own writing, we study still. And then logic.
Tatuv Samgraha.
So, about logic, his own writing. So he introduced the Nalanda tradition. So emphasis reason, logical approach. Therefore, over 1,000 years, you see, Tibetan, we carry faithfully the instruction of Shantarakshita. And later, one taught his sort of disciple, Kamalashila, also invited to Tibet. He also wrote some books. So these we study. So therefore, the Buddhist way of approach is reasoning, investigation, not just a faith. So therefore, since I think more than 30 years, I have serious discussion with modern scientists, mainly 4 fields: cosmology, neurobiology, physics, particularly quantum physics, then psychology. After sort of now a few decades, our sort of discussion in these fields, it became very clear, mutual benefit. We also learn some useful information from scientists. Only casualty is now we no longer believe Mount Meru. That's no problem. So otherwise the truth, Four Noble Truth. All these major sort of teaching, I think we can go side by side with modern scientists. And particularly quantum physics, we know much better than quantum physicists. Also the psychology. So therefore, they also learn very, very useful also the information about mind, about also the complicated philosophical views, these things. So now these days, some Chinese universities, some professor who can have the opportunity to read some book which we publish here in India. So some Chinese scholars, they describe Tibetan Buddhism is true lineage of Nalanda tradition. That religion, very much scientific religion. Now some of them, they say like that. So I feel preservation of this knowledge is not only interest for 6 million Tibetan people, but I think logic and psychology, these things, I think the entire 7 billion human beings, relevant to this knowledge. So my main commitment is preservation of this knowledge inside Tibet, a lot of difficulties, a lot of restrictions. But here in India, free country, among refugees, large number of students of these subject. So, with the help of government of India, mainly Jawaharlal Nehru's sort of initiative, we now, over a few decades, nearly 60 years, we re-establish these learning center. So you see people carry, study continuously. So, and then for this subject, the description of this subject, Tibetan language, is the best. Because before Buddhism came to Tibet, mainly 8th century, Shanta Rishida reached Tibet, and he once started translation. So then, before that, Tibetan language very primitive. Then, while translation going on, you see, new word,
coined, invented.
Invented. So now today, Tibetan language is the most closest language with Sanskrit. So Sanskrit, a few scholars can speak, otherwise that language. So modern Hindi, no hope. English, of course, no hope. The Chinese also difficult. You see, the Chinese, the ancient Kasota word nowadays not used. So some complication there. So now, according to my own experience, it is very clear. The best way to explain precisely this difficult subject, Tibetan word, Tibetan language, is the best language. So therefore, preservation of Tibetan language, one of my commitment, it is something very important, very useful. So preservation of Tibetan knowledge, which come from Nalanda, and including mainly this knowledge, is not only interest for 6 million Tibetan people, but immediately large number of Chinese Buddhists now in China. A few years ago, you see, one Peking University carried survey how many Buddhists there are. Then they found more than 300 million Buddhists. And that report also mentioned many of these Chinese Buddhists are better educated people, more educated people. It mentioned. Now, since then, Buddhist population much increased. So now, these days, about nearly 400 million Buddhists in China. So the preservation of these authentic sort of knowledge from Nalanda, which we preserved, is really useful. Millions of those Chinese Buddhists. And then Japan, Buddhist country, they also the follower of Nalanda tradition, Sanskrit tradition. Since I have been in Japan a number of times, so one scholar, one Japanese monk scholar, when we say Japanese monk, not a celibate with wife. So So he once told me, we Japanese Buddhists, see, we always recite the Heart Sutra. Kasa, Pranjaparamita, Shindaya.
No.
We always recite that, but we do not know what's the meaning. Then he told me, since we become very close friends, so he told me my explanation about the Pranjaparamita Sutra. They found very useful, like that. So like Gati, Gati, Parangati, Parasamgati, Buddhisa. Isn't these very condensed way?
Condensed. No.
Condensed. So the preservation of our knowledge, which introduced by Shantarakshita and Kamalashila, seems, I think, very useful for all those Buddhist countries which follow Sanskrit tradition. Okay. Like that. And then environment, Tibetan environment. Tibet, as people describe, roof of the world. And Tibetan Plato, one Chinese ecologist, he wrote an article. He mentioned Tibetan Plateau, the effect, the global warming from Tibetan Plateau is as much as South Pole, North Pole. So he described Tibetan Plateau as third pole. So obviously, I think you Indian, I don't know whether South Indian, your life depends Tibetan river or not, I don't know. But at least, is it northern India, say Brahmaputra, and then into China, the Mekong River, and China itself, Yellow River, and then
Indus.
Indus River in Pakistan, and then Ganges, and all these rivers, which cover whole northern India, come from Tibet. So the other day I mentioned jokingly, we Tibetan are supplier of water to India. So this is quite serious now. Just when I coming here, one group is who dedicated about ecology. I mentioned now global warming truly now become very serious. So after one decade, after 1 century, I think the most of Himalayan mountain, snow mountain, may disappear. And similarly, inside Tibet also, due to global warming, now there's real danger. So eventually, I think water problem, I think truly become very, very correct. What's that? Okay. So, one biscuit. Only one. Okay. Only that. Oh, delicious. As a practitioner of Tantrayana, too many visualization. So here you also can visualize having one biscuit. So my commitment, preservation of ecology in Tibet, very important. Now Chinese government also showing sense of concern, preservation of Tibetan ecology. It's very good, very good. Subject subject.
Courage and compassion in 21st century.
Oh, here already has some biscuit. Then, my latest fourth commitment is, since I notice these are knowledge which come from Nalanda tradition, become something useful and relevant. Therefore, now the fourth commitment is try to revival of these ancient Indian knowledge in modern India. So these ancient Indian knowledge is not only ancient one, but also relevant to today's world. Obviously, today's world passing through some kind of crisis of emotion, including some leaders also. So, peace of mind is very essential. So, in order to bring peace, some tranquilizer, short period, or alcohol, and even I think worse, drugs. So peace must develop within our own mind, and these method strengthening so that peace of mind always maintain in your mind. So this India's tradition, shamatha, vipassana, before Buddha come, already these sort of method, how to tackle our emotion, already developed in this country. So Buddha himself, product of this Indian tradition. So therefore, these ancient Indian sort of knowledge, how to tackle our emotion, how to keep peace of mind. Traditionally, they come from religious text. Now we should consider these are academic subject for healthy mind. These days, I telling hygiene of physical, very important, but more important is hygiene of emotion. In that respect, only India's tradition have the sort of the material or ability to tackle peace of mind. So therefore, now modern India, it is quite a pity. You see, they not much pay attention about these ancient your knowledge. Now, time come. These ancient Indian knowledge, the must revival in this country, strictly secular way, so that non-believers and believe in this religion, that religion, doesn't matter. So long this human emotion there, human brain there, so this ancient Indian knowledge, how to tackle emotion, is something related with everybody. Firstly, revive in this country. And then, I'm quite sure, China, as I mentioned earlier, number of Buddhists there, they will Sarvasade, they will show interest about the combination of modern education and the ancient Indian knowledge about our mind, combine these two things through education, not through ritual, not through prayer. And then certainly Japan, Vietnam, Korea, these traditionally follow our Sanskrit tradition. I think will copy once here we introduce. In the past, Buddhism, Nalanda, here. And then these whole Asia used to follow Buddha Dharma, Indian tradition, like that. So now modern India, I think, can serve millions of people, firstly, in Asian continent. Then European, Middle East, also you see, will pay notice attention. So, as I mentioned earlier, many scientists are really showing, and some scientists actually practice using these ancient Indian also their method to bring inner peace. So that's my fourth commitment. So I don't know. Now my age, 83. Perhaps next 10 years, up to 93, I may carry some work. After that, too old. So here, a few hundred people here, please keep in your mind these commitment. Firstly, as one human being, try to promote sense of oneness of human being. Second, religious harmony. You already here, very good. Now further promote these things and show other sort of area. Recently I was in Nepal, Ladakh. I have very good relation with the Ladakhi Muslim. So I suggested to them, here in Ladakh, say, religious harmony, very good. And as I mentioned earlier, India in general, also you see, I never heard a problem between Shia and Sunni. Then Ladakhi Muslim should take some initiative, some meeting in Delhi, national level. Many plain Muslim also should participate and then discuss harmony among the Shia and the Sunni. Then gradually can invite some Muslim from like Afghanistan, our neighbor, and some other Muslim country. Let them see religious harmony is possible. And particularly Shia and Sunni, this is no basis for sort of killing each other. So they agree. I suggested, it is quite wrong. We just kept within our own community religious harmony and remain ignore what happened at other human places. So now, the Indian Muslim, I think, should take active role for promotion of, firstly, harmony among Sunni and Shia. Then, eventually, international level religious conference should take place in this country. since I think more than 15 years, I suggest Indian government, in 1956, government of India organized International Buddhist Conference at Buddha Jayanti celebration. Now India, I think, should organize International Religious Conference. If government, you see, send an invitation, then most of the religious leaders certainly come. Then show the world religious harmony is possible. We should make effort to promote religious harmony. India is the example. Like that. So whether that materializes or not, I don't know. But at least my Muslim friend, I suggested they agree. So within the next few months, I think they may start some work. Not in Bangalore, but in Delhi. So I think now time come, India really preserve this religious harmony. Now time come to show outside the world religious harmony is very possible. And make effort step by step. Like that. So now, Kasar, the real topic.
Courage and compassion in the 21st century.
Courage and compassion. Very sort of related. Courage, as briefly I think mentioned, courage, self-confidence, important. Self-confidence, if you carry your life honestly, truthfully, then you can carry your work transparently. So therefore, you have nothing to hide. Always truthful, transparent. So that is the basis of courage. If you have some sort of different motivation, then courage is very difficult. With say, negative emotion, courage is more dangerous. So courage and compassion, very close link, very close link. Like that. So all these knowledge, how to develop, we simply learn from you, from India, ancient Indian. So now, you should pay more attention as your own treasure, your own treasure. I think modern India, you have education system that is so-called modern education, very much oriented about material value. So whole generation who come through that kind of education then create some kind of materialistic life, materialistic society, materialistic culture. So when people who live in such thing, when some emotional problem come, then very difficult to tackle. So Indian education system, I think, should include, as I mentioned earlier, ancient Indian education, how to tackle our emotion, like that. Yoga practice as built, very helpful to healthy body. I think with healthy body, very strong body, too much anger, very dangerous. So we pay also the physical health. Equally, we should pay the healthy mind. That's very important. Okay. Now scientists also, they say, constant anger, constant fear is actually eating our immune system. So, the other hand, more calm mind, more compassionate mind, very good for our health, they say. So that I think my main topic. Still a few minutes. So I would like to take some questions. And of course, there's a further discussion afternoon also. They say, oh, now some question. Yes.